very, very special guest on today. Some would say the OG of Irish Muay Thai, Paul Kelly of Origins Muay Thai.
When we started the podcast, you were very high on my list of someone that I wanted to talk to, and I'm very excited to have a conversation with you today about Thai boxing and Thai boxing in Ireland specifically.
Yeah, no problem. Once you don't mention my age now. You know. I identify as a 29-year-old, by the way, just for first off.
Yeah, so I said we dive right in, Paul. When did you start Thai boxing yourself, and how did you get into Thai boxing?
Yeah, I was doing as a kid. I was doing a little bit of boxing. Then, as a teen, in the 70s, unfortunately, in the 70s, like with Bruce Lee and everything, all the fights came out. Everybody wanted to get into martial arts, so I went along. I started doing kung fu and karate. Got some black belts and stuff like that. You know, traditional stuff. You thought that was, you know, the bee's knees. But then they started the pre-runner of kickboxing. It was called full contact karate at that stage. It wasn't kickboxing, wasn't even the name about. It came about from America in the late 70s, early 80s, I think. So at that stage we were doing full contact karate, which was really karate, kung fu guys, putting on a pair of moon boots, boxing gloves, and just going in and killing each other. Yeah. So it got a bit more sophisticated. Kickboxing started to come around, but there was no Thai in Ireland. And the first time I experienced it, I was 19. I went over to fight in Manchester in the Old Trafford Centre. Master Toddy was running the show, and a stablemate of mine over here, kickboxer Brian Cullen, who was a very good boxer and went on to pro boxing. Two of us went over. He was fighting Ronnie Green, and I was fighting Keith Pele Nathan. Ronnie was a world champion at the time, and Keith was a European champion. And we'd never done Thai boxing, but we said couldn't be kick punch. Yeah. So we jumped in with them, and they destroyed us with leg kicks and stuff like that. We never experienced. There was no leg kicks at that stage in the kickboxing here. It was just all upper body. You know, you got your 8 kicks. The cards went down, and then
as a boxer.
Yeah, it was.
That was a shock then, like taking a few hard leg kicks for the first time.
Oh, it was. Yeah, like I went back to the first round. I'd put him down the first round. I thought, this is great. I sat back down. I got up. I hadn't noticed he'd been just kicking me for the whole 3 minutes, you know, in the leg. Now, the legs ain't working. So, yeah, no, I got stopped in that in the third round, I think. And then Brian went the distance with Ronnie Green, which was brilliant. He was a great boxer. But, the two of us that night, I remember, like, it was the first time we experienced Thai boxing. And we met Master Toddy then over there, who became my coach. But we were back in the hotel that night. Two of us were having a few drinks with our kickboxing coach there. And I know we both went up to try to get up to the bar. We both stood up and we just couldn't move.
Legs
working. Brian actually fell over onto the table. So when we seen that, we said, wow, that's something. We have to learn that.
We have to try this.
So we started going over to Master Toddy, and he started coaching us. And I had to travel to and fro, both of us did. I was lucky enough to be in a job whereas I got a long weekend every month. Mm-hmm. So I went over Thursday night on the boat, spent 4 days over there. Toddy put me up with his brother Master A. He had a house just for fighters. Yeah, it was great. He had a house with loads of bunks. He'd bring over Thai guys and stuff. Anybody coming over for fights, he'd put them in here. So we went over there, trained at his gym like 4 days straight, just all day. And did that every month. And he got us a few fights over there. I'd fight over here, but it was mostly kickboxing. That's the way I started and got into that. So I had a few fights and with different gyms. Never really had a pure coach bar Master Toddy, right? Because I was over here most times. So I had to train myself, which wasn't ideal. So I would term myself a mediocre fighter. I lost as much as I won, you know. But I did take it all in, and I loved the sport. I had a great passion for it. But Thai was something. It was a spoiler, I call it. Once you've done Thai, everything else seems, you know, kickboxing, why ain't you using your knees or elbows?
Why aren't you clinching?
Yeah. So it's such. Encompasses a huge amount of techniques, and it's very, it's the nearest thing you can probably get to a street fight, which is what one Lupini judge told me over there. It's the way they sort of judge it. It's like a street fight. Whoever's standing at the end of the 5 rounds, that's the guy that should win, So that was 19, and I started fighting until I was about 28. Then I retired due to I got my job started to expand and got promotion,
Started
so I
moving
had
up
to
the
travel
ladder.
a bit. Yeah, so then mortgage and kids came along, so I didn't fight for a few years, and then there was another lad, Nick Kawiwat,
Right.
a Thai lad. He was a chef, but he'd come over here and he was just training a few guys down the local gym. So I went down just to really help him out or get fit, because I was in my late 30s at that stage.
Where was that?
That was it was right in the city centre. It was some old gym. I think it was World Gym or something like that.
And was it a Thai boxing gym or was it?
No, it was just in the gym, and,
just a
and he
normal
just had a
gym,
few
okay.
pads, and there was 5 or 6 of us
Right,
just
okay,
doing
yeah.
a bit of things. But then we got we were able to get into a hall called the Vietnamese Centre, and we spent. Nick was with us there for about a year and a half, and we were training out of that, and we got a few fights. I jumped in with a couple of fights. Damien Hood, British champion. I jumped in, about 6'4". I regretted it. I wasn't meant to fight him on the night, but somebody asked me, "Listen, he's stuck." British. Yeah, I'll jump in, even though it was my first comeback in about 7 years.
Why not get in for a knock?
I lasted distance, but by God, he put about 11 cuts in my head, because he was just so tall. But it was great fun. But so that was the start of the gym as such. Nick had to leave. He moved back to Ireland, to England, and I had no intention of running the gym or coaching, because I had a job, full-time job, still doing 9 to 5.
Still the same job.
Yeah, still the same position, still the same job. But so I didn't think I had the time. But there was a few lads there that were up and coming that had been training and really wanted to fight. So I said, right, we were just hiring a couple of hours in the hall. So we said, right, well, I'll keep it going. It's not going to be too costly. But then, of course, the passion was still there and it got going. And then I enjoyed training up the fighters.
So you took a coaching role when
I
he
did,
left,
yeah. So I took over the gym and the debts and everything. It wasn't too much. It was just the rental. But then we decided, right, will I or not? So then I took a small 800 square foot back garage in Blessington Street.
Right.
And that was the first the Bridgestone gym.
Yeah.
So then we started to move up from there. And then, the influx of the likes of Stephen Meleady came in as a 17-year-old.
An absolute legend of all.
He did well. Yeah, he did well. And that was the start of it. The Bridgestone, we spent a few years there in Blessington Street, and then it expanded again. And, I then, for the last 20 years, I've been in Arbour Place, and 2,000 square foot. We got the ring, what we needed if you really want to bring the fighters on and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's expanded from there. And because I haven't had to, it's not my full-time job, I haven't had to earn a living from it. And with the help of other fighters and guys becoming coaches and stuff like that, I was able to run it and still live a life.
Yeah.
But and I still have the passion for it, which is great.
No, you can see that when you're coaching. And
Yeah.
lads, you can see that.
Sometimes good, sometimes bad, but that's what passion's about,
100%.
And and it's been great fun. And like during COVID, a lot of the older champs and stuff had been, quietening down, and John Scott was Sam O'Connor. They were the guys just before COVID, the champs, and I hadn't really any new guys coming up, And with COVID, it was a bit. I nearly was. Is it now time? Because I was in my late 50s, and so I said,
To
is it
close
time?
or to start to retire?
To
from
retire,
boxing,
to
like,
retire,
okay,
and see, because breeding fighters was my passion. It's not about running the gym and having 100 people just doing it for fitness. That's not my thing. Not my thing.
100%.
It's a fighting gym. The British always has been, and that's what I love doing. I love getting the fighters from these batches coming in and trying to bring them on and do the best for them as we can. But after COVID, we just opened up again, and next minute I got a load of young lads, local young lads, 14, 15, 16-year-olds coming in. And then it just started to take off again, and they seemed to give me the passion again, And you can see all these young lads, Yaz, AJ,
Joshua.
Yeah, Joshua, all these guys, these are the young, they're now 18, 19, 20. They're the guys came in,
And
so
the gym
it's
as
great.
well is in a very nice place as well in Stoneybatter.
Yeah, it's right central.
Yeah.
Costly, which was a big thing when I took it over at first. I was going, what am I doing? Because I took a 3-year lease out, and I'm going, if I get injured, and I have to pay this off, and But yeah, it worked out well, and now it's flying again, and it's Thai boxing I think has become very popular.
Yeah.
Like we can sustain, there's probably 15, 10, 12, 15 gyms, I don't know,
In Dublin alone.
and it can sustain it, and it
100%.
makes easier, to get people fights.
Yeah.
Which is what you need if you want to bring
grow
a
it,
fight.
like,
You
yeah.
need that experience, So it's great. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, just one thing I want to touch on there real quick with you, Paul. You said when you met Master Tuddy, you were
Yeah.
travelling to the UK,
Yeah.
back and forth to train.
He was in Manchester at the time. Yeah.
We find it hard now getting lads to travel 30 minutes on a bus to train. And you were
Yeah.
going over to the UK as much as you could, like.
Yeah, well, you see, there was nothing here, and when I fought, I said, "Wow, I have to learn that." When you get the shit kicked out of you, you're going, "There's something special in that." I'd never experienced that sort of fighting, and then when I looked at his guys, yeah, that's something special. So I loved it. Yeah, so it was the passion that drove me over. Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, just to touch on, when I started toy boxing in Ireland, like I said to you before, Bridgestone was the gym in Ireland, without a doubt. You had lads like John O'Bracken, Stephen Meleady, you had girls like Felix, you
Yeah.
had girls like Kelly Cregan,
Aslan,
Aslan's younger brother as well.
Yeah, Aslan.
It was the gym, and like I said, Stephen Meleady is, in my opinion, all-time great of Irish Muay Thai. I think he's the first Irish fighter to be ranked in Lumpini Stadium,
Yeah.
along with so many other accomplishments over in Thailand.
Oh, he fought the best. Stephen's heart and courage, like nothing. No, I'll fight him.
Yeah,
There was never, I don't want to. No, I'll fight
and
him.
would not take a backward step.
No, and that was like, it meant he took a lot more punishment than most fighters, because he would go through. Really, refs had to stop a lot of his fights, because he would knock it up, or he would get up and go, and even the body mightn't be ready for it. His mind was just, I've got to keep going. Amazing fighter.
A fight that sticks out to me that Stephen had was against Rungravy.
Yeah. He won that.
He won that fight.
He broke Rungravy's ribs.
Rungravy cried in that fight.
Yeah, Rungravy got his ribs broke by, and it was
anyone-
just, they wouldn't let him lose. over
Anyone
there.
that knows Rungravy, he was another mad
Tough. Yeah, he fought like a lot of the top guys, and
He was a top.
him and Porcenay down
Yeah,
there in
down Cork, yeah.
Cork. Like, he was a great fighter, but Stephen minced him.
Yeah,
with
he
his
definitely won
kicks.
that
Oh
fight,
yeah,
100%.
yeah, he definitely won it.
That was when I was kind of coming up and first involved in toy boxing, and that fight always sticks out to me. It's one of my favourite fights. I
Yeah,
really,
yeah, it
enjoyed
was.
that
It was a
fight.
great fight. Great fight.
It was, yeah.
You know.
And then like that, you had the likes of Jono as well. That was out of the gym. You had
Yeah.
the girls then, Felix and Kelly. They were kind of your first. Would you say that they were your first batch of fighters?
Yeah, and the thing is, because there was fairly few gyms, the girls had a hard time at that stage.
Yeah.
Felix, I don't think ever fought an Irish girl.
No.
I think she did when she jumped back in there in Capital One, just for the crack.
I
But
could only imagine, because
in their career, it was all English, abroad, everything.
I even find it hard with girls now in my gym
Yeah.
now, so I could only imagine back then.
Oh, it was,
It
yeah.
was,
That's why every one of our fighters, it was either I brought in a fighter for her, or we went abroad. Same with Kelly as well. So it was always, I had two Kellys, Kelly Cregan and Kelly Simon, and they both.
The other Kelly
fun.
was the tall girl, wasn't it?
Yeah. We had Tall Carol, and then Kelly.
I'd say she was a nightmare to match as well, because she was.
Yeah,
tall.
because she was in the 70s,
Yeah.
68, 70 kilo limit, and you won't get too many girls in that
And it's good to
weight
see
class.
that, like, you still see Felix in the corner and stuff.
Yeah,
and
she's still coaching there. She loves it. She still has a passion for it. And
100%.
yeah, it's people like that. I couldn't have run the gym myself
Yeah.
without those guys, and their passion. And Felix still loves it. She still loves being in the corner. She still comes down. She coaches one of the nights a week. She still loves it. Covers for me if I'm stuck. Yeah, she's
And
great.
It's great to see that someone like that came up with you, finished their career, and then
Oh yeah,
they're still there with you now.
Yeah, like we went over, she won a world title in Hong Kong that time we went over, had a great time in Hong Kong, and she was just, to coach or corner, she was just a joy. Whatever you shout in the corner, she just did. She had total trust.
Really good.
And it's
technique
just
as well.
boom, boom, and beautiful technique. She was, she fought a lot at the top. She fought Iman Barlow.
Yeah.
And, some people came up to us afterwards and said, I thought Felix took that, it was so close.
Actually, never
And
seen
Iman would, I'd say, the best pound for pound female fighter
Without a doubt.
around,
Just recently retired.
Yeah, Yeah, so that was a great fight over there, and we went over to their show and their home. And,
always
it
hard,
was a
yeah.
tough, very tough. But Felix has such heart, for a small, beautiful, unassuming girl. She is a dynamite in the ring. It's brilliant,
100%. But yeah, that crop of fighters are now all retired, and it's, like I said, it's good to see them still in the game, and Theo obviously lives over in Leeds now, and he's still knocking around bad company.
Yeah, he still loves it. He still has the passion for it.
It's good
and he, what he did in Thailand, was huge. And
I don't think any other Irish fighter has since done that.
Not yet. No, he jumped in to everything.
He was fighting prisons over
prison
there.
Fights, everything. He fought all the top ties. In
Lumpini when Lumpini was Lumpini.
And you didn't get many farangs in that. No. Now you've got RW. You get a lot of farangs in the Lumpini, Armageddon and stuff like that. But in those days, it was you had to be a name to get in there.
And the Thais loved him.
Yeah. Because he was the Thai style. Walk forward, take it. Walk forward again.
Big heart.
Yeah, great at clinch. Loved the clinch as well, Yeah. So that was strong fire, strong heart. That's all they gave him. Big heart.
La Flama Blanket.
Yeah. We used to call him the milk bottle, but he got a better name when he went over there, Yeah. But great fighter, lovely,
he's doing
lovely
great
guy.
things in Thailand. And
Yeah. No, there's a lot of the old guys like Aslan now is over in Austria running his own gym big time with his brother Islam.
I liked watching him. He was kind of more of a K1 kickboxing style.
Yeah, but he was
really,
so
really
aggressive,
good lad,
and that sort of.
And that actually kind of brings me on to something I wanted to talk to you about was the Armageddon shows. He used to do out on the Red
20
Cow.
of them. That's enough.
Shows out on the Red Cow before the Red Cow is what it is now.
You were on a few of them, as far as I remember.
But I was on a few of them, and they were again when I was coming up. That was the show. Like there was that Diddler done a show out in
Artane, I think, was it?
But Armageddon, I think, was the show when I was coming up, especially in Dublin.
Well, it was the first Thai boxing shows, purely Thai boxing, and nearly, like, there was no amateur in those days.
No.
You started off C class.
Yeah.
That was it. So there was no shin pads in most of my shows, unless it was training for an IFMA was the only time they wore pads, the WMC amateurs. Whereas everything else, your first fight was going to be pro C class. Now it is better giving them a lot more experience without getting your shins mashed, and you can fight maybe 4 or 5 weeks later. So it's better in that way, getting them going to that. But the Armageddons, was because we were, especially in the early days, and say the first 5 or 6 Armageddons, half the show was internationals, because you had to bring them over because no other Thai boxers,
especially for the likes of Stephen and his.
So everything was international, so it was costly. But once I broke even, that wasn't a thing, because it helped bringing on the sport and the fighters, which was all. That's what I love doing, breeding fighters. And
the Armageddon shows were the first Thai boxing shows in Ireland, were they?
Yeah. Well, in Dublin anyway. Anthony Corkery was running them in Cork.
Okay.
There was really Dave Joyce ran a few in Galway, and that was really it. There wasn't much. When it got to the later Armageddons, like 14, 15, 16, there was a few more guys starting up and getting around the shows, So a lot of the other gyms had started to.
It's interesting to see the contrast, the way you're saying, like, there was no amateur back then, it was just C-class straight away. Nowadays, there's, like, amateur shows. There's, like, shows are all amateur, you know what I mean? So you can see the evolution there of the sport. Like.
It's good. Most of the time, it is good. It's better for the people to bring them on. Sometimes, though, they get fixated that, what I don't like to see, I suppose, but I suppose it's good in one way, is the amateur titles and stuff like that. Like, it takes away from, it might give them a false impression that, wow, I'm an amateur champion. When you get into pro, it's a different game. Yeah. You can be very good at the amateur. When you get into pro, it's a totally different game. Smaller gloves, you're taking more punishment. You're able to give more punishment, but it's a different game once you take off the pads and go into that. So, the amateur fights, I think, gives them good experience. I think that's a good thing. But don't get too that's what I say to my fighters. Yeah, if you have 3 amateurs, you could have 3 amateurs go pro, you could have 10 amateurs going pro, but forget about thinking that as a record. It doesn't mean anything. That's where you're learning your trade.
Your record starts.
Yeah, your record starts when you go pro. Don't ever think of your amateur. So if you lose it, don't worry about it.
Matter,
no, this is just,
it's going to reset again when you
exactly exactly. It's not the real thing. Like, you go to Thailand, you go straight in A class. There's no we had to do the C/B class to help people bring on, because it would have been a bit too destructive straight away to have elbows, people getting cut in the first fights and stuff like that. So yeah, it had to be brought on that way over here in Europe.
Do you ever plan to do an Armageddon again, or a show again?
Well, never say never. With Yaz now, and you've got Josh, you have AJ, Harry B. You've a lot of guys coming up.
Joe Fagan,
Joe Fagan. A lot of title contender guys. There's even a few more there that I'd lose out. But that may say, like, if you've if I want to get maybe Yaz a world title or something like that, I probably will have to maybe do it myself, because it's hard to ask somebody else, do a world title, because there's a lot of money costs involved. You've got to bring over fighters, you've got to pay the sanctioning fees, you've got to pay the fighters' purses, accommodation, flights. It's big money. So you got to invest to do that for a fighter. So your own fighter, you'd probably do it, which is what I did with Stephen Meleady and all the other guys when I was getting big European titles or stuff like that. Whereas, so that, even though I said never again, it's just too much hassle. And there's so many shows now. One, it's hard to fit your show in. Two, it's hard to get the bodies coming through the door now to finance the show, which is what you need. Because, somebody will have a show with 20 amateur fights and 3 pro fights, and they'll get loads of people like that, because they'll all go to see the guys fighting their first, second fight, which
family members and all
but after that, seen you, not going to that again. So there's a financial base there that you've got to work out. Is it financially viable, So, but even though I said never, 20 was enough. Haven't done one since, I think it's 2016. So it's nearly 10 years now. But I may have to do one to get some of the lads the big titles,
I think you should do one. My gym would fully support it. I'd love to see
Stop pushing it.
I'd love to see it again.
Get some media coverage from Fights Hour as well.
Yeah. You never know. It may happen.
I watched the outfighting on them shows coming up, and some great fights happened on the Armageddon.
There was some great nights on that, and some 100%. Big fights, and there was a lot of the top guys in Irish fighting each other. It was great.
A lot of lads that are top guys now came up on that show. The likes of, like, Craig, my lad, Craig Hogan.
He
had his first fights on that show.
That's right,
And it laid the foundation for Craig. And not only Craig, lots of lads now who are top contenders in the world started on the likes of Armageddon and stuff.
Because internationals, I brought a lot of guys over that went on to do very well as well, not just from Ireland that were coming over. But I think the one thing I made sure is, and I reciprocally got it back, when I brought fighters over, they should be treated well.
100%.
We got them nice accommodation. You paid them purses. You paid them food. You paid them. You don't get a lot of that now, but that's why we got a lot of reciprocal being brought back to England or Spain or Portugal.
Yeah.
Because if you treat them right, you'll get brought back. You go to some shows over in the UK or other place, you get treated great. Some of them, though, you get there and you fend for yourself. You have to get your own taxi. When you bring over fighters, you should look after them 100%. Like gods, because they're the ones that are doing the show for you. And they're the ones that have to get in the ring and do the hardest part of everything.
100%.
So they should always be respected, paid well. Very hard to do financially sometimes, but do the best you can for them.
100%.
So.
Yeah, so I just wanted to talk about Armageddon, because, like I said, my earliest memories in Thai boxing would have been them shows.
It'd be great to do a big one with, you've got a lot of big fighters in Ireland now, that it's very hard to get them fights. Because say in the UK, we used to travel a lot in the noughties and the early, 2010 to 14, because the gyms in the UK were limited as well. A lot of shows over there, and they couldn't get fighters, especially at top level. But now, of course, there's so many gyms in England. They have so many. You don't get as much traveling over or not, unless your fighter unless your fighter gets up to a level, 100%. But don't say never, but don't push me too much.
I'm all for it. So let's talk a little bit now about your current wave of fighters coming through, and you have some really, really good lads coming through now, and I think like that happens in waves, doesn't it? Like
it does, because they sort of hit off each other. You have to have a batch there they all support each other. It's very hard to just concentrate on one because, as a coach, you can't do it yourself. You have to have stable mates to spar with and everything like that. Yeah, like Yaz is probably our top fighter at the moment in Thailand now. At the moment, from 3 years from his first fight,
amazing what
he got to a WBC European title.
And he's not only got to it, he absolutely skilled the guy for it.
And he's fought the best in the UK. Like he went over.
He went straight A class, did he? When he went pro?
Yeah, we went straight A class. Well, he did one pro-am, I think, over there. He was 18 at the time. I think it was on his 18th birthday, as far as I can remember. We went over, and this guy, like with 60, 70 fights, he was the amateur world champion, and Yogi brought us over to his elite show, and he thought, this is my top. It was his hot prospect. It's just
spoiled the party.
And that was a great fight, but you could just see at the last round he just raised above him, and even Yogi was going, you got something there. So that was his first pro-am, full rules, but then after that we went A class, and he's like, he hasn't lost, it's
now he's
his last fight, as you've seen in Armageddon, it was like
that fella was no joke as well.
No, he was knocking out people left, right, and centre.
Big thing in China.
I think they thought that guy was going to do it. And the first round, he had to weather that storm. It was tough. But that's what Yaz not only is a great fighter, stylist, everything like that, great heart, but he can take punishment. But what he's doing when you're punishing him, he's not just blocking up and he's reading you. He's reading you, and he's saying, right, okay, you hit me. Now, what do I do against that? Next round, he'll come out, totally change the thing, as he did over there, started to get back on. Third round, he just destroyed your guy then. And that's the way he can do it. He is special. He is the one,
Now, I'm very excited to watch Yaz mature, because he still is only
he's still a kid.
Hungry.
So, still a kid.
He's in a great gym in Thailand now as well.
FA, like the world champion of his weight, Yassin is there. And he's sparring him, he's clinching him, holding his own. So, that will possibly, if Yassin stays around, that will probably be the one, that we'll have to go for, and no problem, he would have every confidence in taking anybody in the world, and there's a few others coming up now. I've got Josh going for an Irish title, Big Josh. He's going.
We talked about him.
He's a weapon.
He's a scary dude.
Like he's he's a approximately 80 kilo fighter, that can move like a lightweight. He can throw anything. He moves very well.
He really has that aggression as well. Like,
but he has the cool demeanor in the ring.
He's a really
doesn't.
Nice guy as well, man.
Oh, he's a nice guy. Like pussycat outside, but jeez.
One of my lads, Dame, I was up with him there sparring the other day.
I
had good things to say about him.
He's a nice guy, but by God, he's a weapon. So he's fighting Brian Houston for the Irish title and Deliverance. So that'll be a great fight. Great fight.
Brian coming from more of a kickboxing background.
But like a durable lad, and he's fought
and very experienced.
Very experienced, much more than Josh, and he's 100%. Fought a lot in the UK against top guys, 100%. But he hasn't come up against Josh yet.
Looking forward to
really looking forward to that fight.
Me too. It's going to be. We've got a busy, like, of 4 guys in Siam Warriors next week. And then
who have you got up there?
AJ's fighting for a silver series, so that'll be a good fight against Gustavo. Because Gustavo's very good and strong. So it'll be two different styles. But
it's a good clash of styles.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and looking forward to it. It's going to be good. And then I've one lad, Luke Brady, doing his first C class, and then I've two amateur guys. One having his first, Dylan, and then Osas, which is the guy that wears the mask. He's a character, and he's actually he's going to be good. He's going to be similar to Josh, hard to get fights for because of the way. I'll have to probably start, when he goes pro. We were hoping to get him pro this time, but it's still an amateur. Hopefully next time pro, and then we'll start moving him on probably to international, because at that heavyweight, that's mostly what I'm going to get the guys at that weight, Yeah, no,
there's not a lot of lads over here at that weight.
And then you've got, the weekend of the 14th and 16th, you have two shows on that. I think I've two amateurs on the Friday night takeover, and then I've one at the moment down in Clonmel. Might have another, but I think Dylan wanted me to judge some of that title fight. Totally impartial. But that'll be a great fight. I can't wait to see that as well. I'll have to try and say, right, no, I'm judging it. I don't want to watch it. I'm judging it, because that will be a great fight. Looking forward to that. Do
you enjoy judging fights?
Enjoy. I enjoy judging the challenge to judge it properly, because I'm very much a stickler for, I want to get this right, and I really, really, try, because we're all human, but you really try to be impartial, and the best fighter should win. Now, I'm a bit traditional stylist in that way, whereas I do like to judge it in the old Thai style, whereas
Muay Thai,
which is Muay Thai, but it's changed a little, like WBC, where you take up the cards in between the rounds. It's very hard to judge it Thai style, but you can if you do it the right way. But I like judging fights. I've done a lot of judging. I think I'm pretty good at it, because
I think so.
Just the amount of years I've been there, so I've learned a lot. And when I was in Thailand in the 80s with Toddy, and he was well in with everybody, and you'd have Lupini judges in his house having a few whiskies, as they like, and you get great information, and it really does instill what to look for and what way to judge a fight. And it's not as simple as a 10-10, boom, boom. That's the system we use, but you have to really look at it in a way, if you want to do a traditional Muay Thai style judging,
Sometimes you see, like, some WBC fights and stuff, they'll have different, like, they'll say all strikes score equally and stuff, and then sometimes they say, well, kicks and knees score better, like.
Well, the way it is everything that's effective should score. Kicks and knees probably score a little higher, but the punches, you get some people, punches don't really score. They do score if they're effective. An elbow, what the Thais used to, an elbow scores if it cuts or if it shows effect, like if it knocks the head. But if you just hit somebody with an elbow and he stands there, doesn't cut, doesn't show effect, well, no score. Same as a leg kick. People say, leg kicks don't score. They do if they move a fighter or if they show effect, you've off-balance them. Because the big thing is position. If you hold position, it's a lower score or no score. But if you knock a person off position, it's a bigger score. So there's a lot of things to take into account every time you see a strike, and you've got to, judge it balanced on those things. But every strike scores once it's effective. That's the main thing. It's just it's Thai boxing. A kick which is a harder technique to throw than a punch. So you would score the higher if it's effective, if it's nicely thrown, if it's thrown with balance, everything like that. You've got to take into account.
So I tell my young lads all the time, body language is so important in Muay Thai.
Yeah.
Body language in Thai boxing is so important. Like you said, holding shape and not being moved and staying strong, appearing strong, even when you don't feel strong. So important.
Not showing you're tired and stuff.
Yeah, because that's what, as I said, talking to one of the Lupini judges years ago, said to me, a guy can be great 4 rounds, he can kill somebody, boom, boom, boom. Last round, you could see the fitness dwindle, he's fatiguing. He should not win fight. He can draw, but no win. Because you show tired, no win. Maybe draw, but you rarely get a draw over there. They always try to give a win or a loss. But that's it. You have to be going for 5 rounds, and you have to show heart, show fitness. Otherwise, if they don't think you're prepared for the fight, you shouldn't win a fight. So there's a lot of that. But as you say, that is, you've got to be mentally. Make sure that you show the image that you're still strong, you're still fit. You don't give away. If you are tired, you mask it, and that's a technique in itself. And how to play.
And it has to be trained in the gym.
Oh, it has to be.
100%.
Yeah.
No one sits down in my gym.
No,
there's no hanging over the ropes. You're standing up tall in between rounds, and it's something that I always tell all my young lads. Even when you're tired, you appear not to be tired.
Yeah, there's none of this leaning. Get up. You have to. 100%. Because that's the image you've got to portray in the ring, and that will not only impose yourself on the other fighter, but it also gives yourself confidence if you can do that. So there's a lot of it's not just punching and kicking. There's a lot of psychological stuff.
100%. And you look across the ring at someone, and you're tired, and they look strong, and just the mental warfare of that. I've looked across the ring and seen lads slumped over, and I say to my fighter, look at him. Look at, he's tired. He's slumped over there. You're good.
And that can change a fight totally. 100%. And I always tell the fighters, for your first fight, you got to be 10 times fitter than your 10th fight or your 15th fight, because once you get in the ring, if this is your first time, you're going to get an adrenaline dump. All that, tension stuff. Some people are better than others at it, but you're going to have to. Half your fitness is gone before you even throw a punch. So you have to really be, ultra fit for your first fight if you want to do well. And then, the better you do well, even if you last fight, you don't. As I said, when you're doing the amateurs, win or lose, no, it's learning. That's your college. Get in there, learn the stuff, and then you go pro. So, but make sure fitness is the biggest thing when you're starting off. Making sure you can get through it, and that's where you learn. Knock out a guy in 30 seconds, you learn nothing.
No, nothing at all.
You go 3 rounds and lose it, you learn a hell of a lot more. 100%. So I always say, somebody, knocked out, big deal. Yeah. Big deal. That's one punch. Yeah. You didn't learn anything.
No, you didn't learn anything.
You learned you've got a punch, but you didn't learn what happens when you get punched or when somebody's clinching you for 2 minutes. So if you get the distance, win or lose, doesn't matter. That's where you learn. And then you move on from there.
I always say to my lads, especially amateurs and younger amateurs, and I do not care if they win, lose, draw at amateur. I want them, we work something on in the lead up to that fight. I want them to show that, and once they show that and do what we plan to do, and that learn something, take something from it. I don't care if they win, lose, draw.
Exactly.
Amateur, like you said.
And then you're happy. Yeah.
It's your skill. It's your college. That's where you're getting the experience.
That's it. And if you can impart that to them, once you're, you can't be a coach and just want them to win, and do everything, and give out to them. I don't like fighters. One thing I don't like is fighters giving out to themselves. Yeah. Because that's the worst thing to do. 100%. That's my job.
Yeah, 100%.
Never give out to yourself when you're training or in the ring. I'll take you out afterwards and give you a right. But you can't, because once you start that, while you're fighting or something, you lose focus. You're gone. Yeah. So you can't do that. You just always got to look forward. Something happens, it's gone. You can't change it. Stop thinking about it. Boom. On you go, So that's the mentality you got to drive into fighters,
100%. Good. And another question that I had for you, Paul, is you're involved in Thai boxing a long, long time, and obviously Thai boxing in Ireland has changed a lot. Yeah. What's the biggest changes you see in Thai boxing in Ireland since you started to now?
I suppose in some ways the level has sort of... it's hard to judge because a lot of guys are getting into amateurs and they're not really ready to fight. But because it's amateurs, you can throw them in a little early. Whereas back when you were jumping in your first C class, you'd want to have the guy training for possibly best part of a year or 10 months anyway, maybe. Now, I know there's been exceptions there's a few guys I've thrown in earlier than that, even in the old days. They were just hot, but yeah, I think a lot of people are jumping in. There's so many amateur fights, and the majority of them won't ever go pro.
Yeah.
So it's, how would you say, it's great that they get all the experience, and the guys that will keep going and get into pro, they've got a bigger pool to learn, get the experience from. So that's good. But there's a lot of work goes into the other amateurs that is lost then after a few fights, when they're just doing it for more, the ego, the fun, the stuff.
The Instagram photo.
Yeah. And then that's it. Like the real fighters, you will see, and they're the ones you try and pick out and work with. And it's all about the heart. The head can tell you loads of things. Oh yeah, I'm going to be a fighter. Like the thing is, you get guys coming up in the ring and I think I'll try a fight. I said, you train once or twice a week and you think you'd like a fight? Yeah, not in my gym. 100%. You show me you want to train, you train hard, you really want to fight, then I might let you fight. But so it's I suppose it's diluted it a bit with the amount of amateurs and trying to find those fighters. It's an easier route, which is good. And you can still find your diamonds in the rough from them, but it's just so much now. It's like the shows, there's only a few shows that are really good shows with all top class, but I think it's a good thing. As I said, it's got a bigger pool, so your fighters can get a lot more fights, because going over to England, unless you're experienced, it's dried up a bit. We used to get C-class guys going over loads years ago, but you don't have that now. So I think there's good and bad things in it, but I think it'll only help the sport. So many gyms now.
100%. And Muay Thai on a global scale, then, especially now with the likes of One Championship, RWS has changed a lot since even I started, but it changed even more since you started. Yeah. What do you think of the new kind of entertainment style Muay Thai?
It's going to be good for fighters to maybe earn a wage. I think I still love the traditional Muay Thai.
I'm the same.
I still love it. So the likes of RWS would be more what I'd like. It's more traditional scoring and it's got the Thai gloves. I don't like the small gloves. I think there's too much punishment too early on. 100%. It'll favour just your boxing rather than
we can see all the Russians now. They're doing great because they have that boxing style.
Yeah, and it takes away from the art. Like Muay Thai was an art, and it was the art of 8 limbs, and there was so much in it. You had clinch, you had kicks, elbows, and there was so much technique in it. Whereas now, when you're in one, your punches is your main thing.
Digging their feet into the ground, just throwing at each other. It's lost a lot of the technical aspect.
Yeah, and that's why I say, Yaz would be prime one prospect, but I say, listen, do it at the latter end of your career.
100%.
You do it at the early part of your career, you can forget it.
And you're shortening your career doing it.
Oh, big time, because the punishment you take in them, especially if you're the tougher fighter you are, the more punishment you're going, because you're going to stand there for 3 rounds pummeling each other in the head. That's that's not going to be a long career.
So a lot of my young lads say, I want to go to one, but I'm like, you don't. He might think you do, but you won't do it on my watch.
No, it'll be a big payday at the end of the day.
Craig and Stephen, they had their career in boxing gloves. At the later end of their career, and now let's go and try earn a bit of money.
Yeah, and that's the only place you will earn a bit of money. Like in normal Thai boxing, you're not going to get the purse. It's not in the normal day of things. One has done a great thing like that. Yeah. It's bigger than UFC now. And it's more exciting than UFC, because stand-up is always more exciting to me. Like, I can see the technique on the ground, and it's brilliant. The BJJ style part of the
it's not as exciting.
No, I think it's just more exciting. It's non-stop action when it's standing up, And one is good for that.
You ever see, like, if you're watching a UFC event or something, when someone takes them down, all you hear is booing from the crowd, you just...
Do you? I don't really even watch MMA now, it's not of interest, I love stand-up, because there's just so much, it's just more exciting, it's popcorn, time. Yeah, it's more exciting.
And do you still watch Muay Thai fights?
Not as much as I do. I just don't have the time, you know. You know, when you've got family, everything, dogs. But you're running a gym, you know, and I'm working 9 to 5. I don't get a lot of time to watch. The only really times I'll watch it were if I've got somebody matched up against somebody else. I'll take a look at that and, you know, strategize there and stuff like that. But just for some of the big ones, championships, or some of the Irish lads are on it, I'll get on and have a look at it. It's great. It's on YouTube and stuff like that. You can get it. So it's great, you know. It's great to see Yaz's fighting SKS, you know. But so I don't watch as much as I used to when I was in my young fighting days. You're watching everything because you're trying to learn as much as you can as well. And it's great motivation for you when you're doing that. But I don't have the time enough. But I watch some.
Any Irish fighters that aren't in your gym that you enjoy watching? Or?
Oh yeah, there's a few guys coming up now. Tom was great last fight. Love the way he got battered in the first round of the final, and he just came back. I thought, he's finished. Because he was already cut and he's cut again. The heart, but that's a fighter, and the heart. He just I'm coming back. And he just destroyed him then. I was so impressed with Tom. Fair play to him. Like, that was a brilliant fight, you know. Your lad, Tig.
He's a good kid.
He is. He's a good kid. Like, he's going to be, you know, he throws anything and a lot of it lands. He's one for the future as well. 100%. You know?
And when we were over in Scotland there, you and Yassin Ali, I actually got them both to stand together and take a picture together, and I guarantee you we'll look back at that picture now in a few years and them lads will be
you can see when you got something, you know, a guy that's really, and especially when they're young, but they can hold their own with adults, you know, they can still go that distance, and they have to have a bit of maturity as well, you know, to be able to take what they're going to go through, because it's a tough sport. It's not tiddlywinks. It's not mentally and physically. So they got to be they got to have a strong heart, a strong constitution, a strong will, and a strong belief. The self-belief is the biggest thing. A fighter, if he believes in himself, not the cocky, egotistical stuff, but just a pure inner confidence that he knows, I can do that and I want it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of fighters that are confident, not cocky, take their confidence from their training and who are around their circle. I know with a lot of my lads, like Tig, he's always been around Craig, Stephen, these lads. He trains hard. He takes confidence. He takes confidence out of who he's around.
And that's it. If you've got a good stable of some accomplished fighters, you learn a hell of a lot more. You know, you learn a hell of a lot more. Who else would be around? Like, you've got the guys that are doing well, the McGreevy's, Smiley, they're already nearly established, you know. There's that young lad from, not Eastside, is it? The young lad that was over in, remember the Europeans? Thomas, he's very good.
He's a good kid. I like
now,
him.
hopefully, you know, sometimes you get people like that and they'll, you don't see them continuing on, you know. Sometimes they get to a certain stage and then they level out or just go into some other sport or something, or get waylaid. Exactly, women and drink. But if they don't, he has some skills. He has some skills, you know. So he'd be good. Yeah.
From Eastside, isn't he?
I think it's Eastside, isn't it?
Calvin,
Spartan or Eastside. Yeah. So there's a good few young lads around that are coming on. I'm trying to think next week if there's anybody there that's
just Colm O'Mahony that's fighting.
Colm, that's it. Yeah. He's very, very good. Very good. One of my lads now, Breeze, fought him, and Colm though he's young, again eager. He's one of those like Tig. He's just coming on, and he's just, you know, it's the heart and the head. You know, tough. If they're tough, they can get through a lot. You know, and you just gotta make sure they're still enjoying it. That's the big thing. Like, if you push them too hard, especially when they're young, and you try and nearly have your own ego pushed onto them and try to push them too hard, that's when you lose fighters. You've got to let them go at your own pace, and you've got to protect them as well, sometimes from themselves. not taking fights that they shouldn't take and stuff like that, you know. So yeah, you've got to balance it, you know. You've got to treat them right if you want them to go the distance. Yeah, definitely.
Something else I want to talk to you about and pick your brain on was, we talked earlier about the amount of Thai boxing shows in Ireland now.
Yeah.
And in your opinion, does something need to be set up so that there's a bit more, we talked about before on the podcast, a bit more unity where like we're all kind of in a bit more contact with each other so that there's not shows clashing? Like I think that Ireland is too small to have 2 shows on at the same weekend or the same night. Sometimes it even happens. And like that, I want to support everyone, as many shows
Same
as possible.
here, yeah.
But it's not possible sometimes, like they're too close together and your lads are all on this show now, they can't be on the next show. But
yeah. It's weakening the shows, and that's really why I stopped doing the Armageddons as well. Yeah. Because then I was finding, you know, a lot of the other gyms had started the shows, but, you know, whereas my shows were 100% pro and internationals, heavily internationals, there was always 5 or 6 names coming over from abroad. And then you were getting shows which was taking a lot of the audience, a lot of the fighters, and they'd probably have, you know, 15 amateurs and 3 or 4 pros. And you found a lot of them, and it sort of was diluting the whole area. And yeah, you find it's harder then to get the fights for the shows. So yeah, it's got to that. There's too many shows. Everybody wants to put on a show, get their own fighters on, and I think there's too many shows, and there's not enough, as you say, communications.
No.
Because you have a few egos here and there. You're always going to have, and you know, and people, you know, if they've got regular shows, and you know, they're going to keep doing them, but then the new ones want to get in, and they're doing them, and there's a lot of clashes now. You know.
Do you know what? I do think if it's properly organised, I think there's a place for everyone. Like there's a place for amateur shows, there's a place for pro shows, but like that, we just need a bit more communication on the Irish Muay Thai scene, because we are such a small scene.
Yeah.
And I think most 90% of people are all friendly with each other. There's obviously politics involved in some places, but like even a few years ago, we would have been a cunt to deal with sometimes. But like I'm getting older now.
What do you mean a few years ago? Yeah, everybody, but you learn as you go along, you know. 100%. And yeah, like I've had my fallings out with some of the guys, the WMC guys and stuff, IMC guys. Yeah. But yeah, no, I hold no grudges now, and yeah, it would be great, but we're always dealing with personalities and egos and stuff like that, and
I think
it's hard. It would be better if we could, because we certainly fight above our weight, you know. The Irish 100%. In Thai boxing, you can see us going abroad, and we do very well. You know, we've got some great fighters here.
For such a small community, we do so much in the world of Thai boxing.
Big time. You know, and another one that you touched on at the last podcast was the judging. Mm-hmm. That's another thing that can irk fighters and stuff like that. You know, when you are on coaches, you know, you get on, you see somebody that you've never seen before, and he's judging, is it? Who is he? You know, they've just been dragged in off the street, and you know, that annoys you when you know the judging is wrong, even though if your fighter wins or not, if you know, if the judging is,
and you don't know who to go even.
Exactly, yeah. And it should be an experienced judge, but again, we're small. There's so many shows. It doesn't pay for the guys to even judge. You know, that's why you're normally getting coaches and stuff like that. We do it, you know, for nothing. We jump on judging. Like the UK went around and got a good setup with the
IBMTO.
Yeah. And they seem to have got it started, but even they've had political problems over there.
I think it definitely needs some sort of an organisation where it's like, all right, this is the officials, this is the pool, but it's so hard to set up an organisation and then for people not to like bring their own ego into it and their own agendas into it.
Yeah,
it almost has to be done by someone. I keep asking Lar to do, because Lar doesn't really have an affiliation to any gym, whereas if he's the head of some sort of organisation where it's like right, this is the whatever, the Irish Muay Thai officials, whatever it's called, and then like that. This is the pool of judges. This is who's coming up. This is who we're training. You know what I mean? I think it needs something to.
It does, and Lar would be a great one. Like, I've got to say apologies to Lar when he was starting off judge or reffing on shows when he started off, because he was coming from a kickboxing background. He didn't understand the clinch, and I'd be literally lighting him up after every fight. You know, why'd you break that clinch? You know, it's clinch. You know, and so I'll officially apologise to Lar now if you're listening to this. But no, but fair play to Lar. He said, "Okay, I'm not sure about the clinch, so tell me about it." So I told him, and he learned, and he's 100%. A brilliant referee now, absolutely fantastic, he really and he understands the clinch, which is a difficult thing. That's why a kickboxing ref or just that ref's a normal fight gets in cannot do a Thai fight. You have to know how to ref a Thai fight, you know, for the clinch predominantly.
So I've actually got into reffing now quite recently a lot more, and kind of under Lar, like, and I talk a lot with Lar, and Lar would have told me that he got a lot of advice from you coming up, and
abuse or advice now. That's
he told me advice.
A little bit about.
Yeah, he told me that you're a stickler for the rules, and
yeah, like I used to ref a good bit myself as well in the old days. But yeah, so you learn a lot every time you get in the ring. Same as whether you're fighting or anything else. You get a bit more experience. You learn more. You know, the one thing you have to be is decisive. 100%. You know, don't, you know, I've sometimes jumped on you now and again. That's the passion in the corner you have. You have it yourself, you know. And you know, the referee has got to just stick to the rules and look after the fighter.
And that's what they're there for. That's all they're there for. They're not there to make friends. They're there just for the fighter's sake.
Yeah. No, and that's what you've got to be, and you've got to be totally impartial and totally strong. You got to be strong as a referee.
100%.
You know, you can't be influenced by crowd, judges, you know, bottles being flown in. You just have to sort of, you know, stick to your guns.
You have to take charge of the ring,
and judges have to be doing that as well. But unless you know, when you're in the ring, you're getting a few fights every night. You know, if you're refereeing, and you're getting quite good experience. Unless you're judging a lot, but unless you're being judged by other judges, you won't learn.
I always say, like, if I judge a fight, I have no problem. So if I judge, say, one of your lads fight, and you come up to me after, obviously you do it in a respectful way after the show or whatever. I've been guilty of going crazy as well, but I think there is, as a judge, you should have to explain. There has to be some sort of communication. Like, I have no problem when I judge. If I gave a fight to someone, I'm able to sit down and say why I did that. You know what I mean? And I think that's another thing that needs to happen. There needs to be, like any job you ever do in the world, if you do something wrong, you have to explain why you've done it. So it should be the same for judging as. Yeah,
that's true. You have to take responsibility for your actions. Definitely. And when you do a judge, you know, you can't judge your own fighters, that's for sure. But when you do, you know, I'd be, when I'm in the corner, I'm harder on my own fighter, judging wise, than I am. So if I get passionate as well. I'd go at somebody when I see it. You know, there was one fight there you mentioned a couple of podcasts ago was, what was it? AJ and Tyke, was it? No, AJ.
Dean Graham, was it?
Dean, yeah. And we had a good fluster. One judge gave it for Dean and the other two gave it for AJ. But, you know, and Jamie was 100% sure his fighter won, and I was 100% my fighter. And that's the way it is. But then when the video came out, fair play to Jamie, he rings me up and says, AJ won that, hands down, no problem. Whereas I knew that, but I was saying, am I? But I looked at the fight and I said, scoring wise, like, and this is where judges sometimes, if they're not experienced enough or haven't really talked to other judges, like judges should be getting together and discuss nearly the art of judging. Because, you know, some people were saying, he got his back, he got his back loads of times. Half of it was after the referee had said stop. 2, he got his back without doing anything before that. If you're in the clinch and you're doing a few knees
and he's turning his
and
back
then you turn him, that's a big score. It's not a score, it's a big influencer. Turning the back, getting around the back of somebody it's not a scoring point, but it's an influencer of the whole round. Whereas if you're doing nothing, the guy's getting 2 or 3 knees in you and then you get the back without doing anything. What's that? You know, it's no, it doesn't. It's not a score. It's not a score. You have to be doing everything else, and then it will influence that you've got good control. But if he's kneeing you and you're just getting the back, that's not showing good control. That's what getting the back is, showing you can control. So as a judge, you know, you have to talk about these things and make sure everybody's on the same, you know, this is what you judge on and this is a big score. That's not, you know, and you've got to, don't be influenced by the flashy stuff, which mightn't be actually effective.
And be open to correction.
Yeah. And as you say, like, and I'm guilty of it myself, going crazy. I judge nearly while you're still there in the ring because the passion's up there. And if, you know, and you always think yourself right, you're right. You know, you're a self-righteous sod when you're in the, you know, your own fighter and you really feel hard done by, whether you're right or wrong. But you shouldn't go against the judges. I do it myself, I know, and I'm guilty of it.
I judge and I do it, and you judge and you do it.
Yeah, and I know what judges like. And when guys do it to me, I just ignore them, and I'm not going to talk to them then. I'll talk to them afterwards, and that's right. And judges shouldn't talk to me then; they should just ignore me. My punches, no, but just ignore me. And when things calm down, then you can talk it out and see what the reasons are.
There should be conversation, and the judge should be able to. If you judge a fight, you should be able to explain after the fight why you judge that fight that way.
But I think, you know, the problem is now as well is, you know, you've got a few different organisations now, WBC, WMO, two good ones, and you have ISCA as well. They're the three main ones, I would say, in Ireland for Thai. And they all are slightly different ruled. So having the same judges and the same things, the same referees doing the same, it can be hard. Mm-hmm. Because you might be judging it sort of in a, you know, real traditional Thai style, which maybe WMO and ISCA you can do. Whereas WBC, it's got to be done a slightly different way. And if the guys is judging it the wrong way, you know, it's hard. It's hard. But yeah, if we could get, I don't think it will happen. It would be brilliant if it did. I don't know who would come around and try to, you know, correlate it all together, get all the judges together and have sort of biannual meetings of all judges and talk about all the different fights, have a look at fights and really get a panel of 10, 12 guys that can judge and pay them well, make sure that once they come to a show, they get paid well and, you know, you've got high class judging that will be responsible for the decisions because they'll be brought up at the whatever the meetings of all the judges or something like that, or have some sort of criteria to do that, you know.
I think it definitely raised the level of Irish Muay Thai. Yeah,
it would, because it makes just a fairer playing field for everybody. Yeah. And if we can do that, it'd be brilliant. Very hard to do. Yeah. I think they did it pretty well in the UK. They've got some good experienced judges and refs over there. Yeah. There's still politics involved.
Unfortunately, they're always
some shows they won't have him on it, you know. But if you have it's better off than what we have at the moment. Yeah. You know, dragon fighter or guys here and there. You know, if we can get a good judging panels, even if it's guys that not going to be able to do every judging, I'd help out doing judging as much as I can. But I've usually so many fighters on every show, I don't have a chance. You know. Now, luckily, I think on Dylan's show or the Courage show, I've only one amateur. If it stays that way, I can judge a lot of fighters on that, you know, if he wants. But you know, with 4 or 5 fighters, I can't. I've got to
get them warm.
And I have to get them ready. Because there's the mental preparation as well as the physical. So you got to be taught. You get making sure they're
running out before.
They got to be right. Yeah, I'll run in, grab you now. They've got to have the. You know, you got to prepare them mentally and physically, you know.
You spend so much time with them, they're comfortable around. You know what to say to your
fighter. Exactly. You know which way to play them as they're getting in the ring, which way.
Every fighter is different, and it's something that I enjoy as a coach. Is figuring out my lads and be like, he needs this and he needs that. And it's mad how.
Yeah, they can all be motivated by different things, you know, and it's sometimes what you say, you know, can make a difference.
Break.
Big time. Like, and you got to learn that. You know, not just for yourself, but for every fighter. Some things turn them on, some things turn them off.
One thing that I've learned as a coach that I didn't think about earlier, but now I'm very tuned into is how everyone's very different. Like how I get Aaron Brown going for a fight and how I get Craig Hoakley going for a fight.
Two totally different things.
Completely. You nearly have to fucking be punching Aaron Brown around in the back room before Where it's a lot more chilled out with Craig. Like,
it was a bit like Rob Doyle. We used to call him the Iceman. He was so chilled when he fought. Yeah. You wouldn't even think he was fine. He'd be getting in the ring. I remember one guy, we got over some international, I think he was finished, and he took so long doing the Ramui. Rob just lay down the ring on it sidewise like a Roman emperor and just sat there in his trunks and his gear and the Moncon and just sat there like lying down until your man finished, because he was just, I'm not standing for this. But he was so laid back, he was Mr. Cool in the ring, he never flustered him, which is good in a one way, but he was good in that
approach doesn't work for everyone.
No, and some people have to be hyped up before, some people have to be calmed down, some people have to make sure, get your breathing right, because they're already hyperventilating nearly before they get in. So there's a lot of preparation, as you say, but as you say, you learn, each fighter is different, and you try and make sure you give them the best preparation, the best entrance they can, because the way they start off can be a big thing,
100%. When I referee fights, I've always been watching this, like, especially with someone like you, especially when I started coaching, I'd watch you in the corner, and I notice it a lot more now when I referee fights. I always love listening to your corner, man, with the code names, all the
secrets.
All the you obviously have combinations or whatever, and code alley up and money, and I always get a good kick out.
And have to change them now and again so somebody doesn't cop onto them,
because I'd be trying to decode them sometimes.
No, the code master. No, you got to change them up, and that can even fool some people. Because don't forget, some of them codes would have been even used in the old days, whereas like a Mick Pajowski, he would have been one of my champions, and we fight his lads a lot in 309, so he'd know, because I would have, some of the calls would have been the same, but I've had to change a lot of them over the time.
I always get good crack off that though. Alley up and money.
Well, the thing is, because I remember sometimes you'd be shouting, yo, big right punch, big right, and next minute the opponent throws it, and you go, I shouldn't have said that, So it's best, at least the codes is only recognisable to your own fighter,
I'd be trying to decode them anyway.
I'll keep changing them now, more so.
I'd be looking, when you say it, I'd be looking at what they're going to throw down from it. But I always enjoy listening to you.
Well, sometimes they don't listen to me in the ring and they throw something else, so that'll fool everybody grand.
Something that I've noticed even more now that I'm refereeing, because yourself, when you're in there, you really, like, it's weird when you referee, you can hear exactly what's around the ring. I can't hear crowd or anything when I'm in there.
No.
I hear the corners and I hear the fighters, and I can hear the grunts of the fighters and the shots landing, and I hear the corners. I don't really hear much else outside of that. I'm kind of zoned in there, but I always get a good crack out listening to you on the corner.
I've definitely noticed it as well, like, from going to shows and stuff. You talk about passion in the corner and all, like, obviously all coach have passion, but like, you always give a good show.
Oh I still love it, and sometimes you go, oh jeez, another fight, but once the bell rings, bang, it's the same as when I go, jeez, I've had a hard day work, I have to go down, do a 6 o'clock class, 7 o'clock class,
punched around by
then 2 hours of fighters afterwards, zoom 20-30 rounds of pass, you go down. But once I throw the first kick as a demonstration at 6 o'clock, bang, I'm in it, and the night flies, and I'm just boom, boom, boom. So the only reason I could do it is I still love the passion. But in the ring, I love that as well, and I sort of become the fighter, because as you know, when you were saying the silent thing, when you're a fighter, there's nothing. I have to prepare people when they get in the ring. It's the loneliest sport. It is. It's as gladiatorial as you'll get.
100%.
One guy. And when it's tunnel vision, when you're in the ring, you will not hear the crowd. Certainly in your early fights, you will not hear the crowd. You will see one person. You won't even know there's a referee in there with you. It's just you and this other person, and it's an experience. And you've got to prepare people that this is a very lonely, visceral, gladiatorial, thing you're going to go through. And as I say to people, if you even had one fight in Thai, it will change your life entirely. It'll stand to you. Even if you've been there once, you've experienced something 99% people in this world will not experience. Not these days. Maybe back when you're in the Vikings, yeah, you might come across it every couple of weeks, but no, this is the nearest thing you'll get to gladiatorial combat, and it is life-changing. To the positive, I think. Anybody that's experienced, as I said, even somebody's gotten in it once, they've experienced something that, yeah, they can have a different thought process now in their mind for life, you know. They know what it's all about, you know. You can be very good in that way.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a very different experience, and there's not a lot like it. Like you said, it's very gladiatorial. It's
yeah, and anytime you're coming over now in the corner and you're effing, I'm just going to shut up, so just in case you're listening.
One thing I wanted to ask you as well, I was down in your gym with Yaz one day doing a video, and obviously there's a lot of pictures you have on the wall there.
Yeah, the wall of champions.
Yeah, the wall. And there was this one picture that stood out to me the most. I'll show you here.
What was that?
That's some Ronnie.
Tell us the story behind that picture.
Yeah, that was back in...
A legend with Samart there.
Yeah, Samart Payakaroon, best pound-for-pound fighter of all time in Thailand. Yeah, I was down in Sitjat Tong, which was his gym with Master Yad Tong. And his brother, I was clinching his brother, I think, that morning. And he was meant to be... He was already at that stage nearly doing films and everything. He was a pop star. He was a film star.
Yeah, he was doing everything.
Making money like that because pretty boy at time. But he was just something else. Yeah. And I remember I was clinching with Kong Turney that morning, and doesn't look anything like him, real small, stocky guy. You know, he was a tough fighter as well. He was I think 2 or 3 times Lupini champion as well. But they'd be throwing you around the ring. But yeah, I had the pleasure. Like, he wasn't training for a fight, but he came down to the gym regularly, and we got one out. Right, pictures, pictures, you know? So it was brilliant to meet him. Yeah, he was one class fighter. Him and Diesel Illinois, they were the two ones. Like, in those days, I would have been looking at all the fights. The
golden era kind of.
But trying to find them, there was no internet. So you were getting 8mm films. VHS was a new thing just to be coming out. But yeah, it was great to see him in the flesh, you know. Brilliant fighter, yeah.
You should bring back that Ronnie.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
No, that's gone.
Back that Ronnie, yeah.
The beard was coming back last year, but it's gone again now. No.
Obviously, Thailand then was a lot different to Thailand now, because every cunt involved in Muay Thai goes to Thailand now.
Yeah.
Back then, not a lot of foreigners.
No, Jesus, low. And you were real farang. I went over with 2 English lads, right, and 3 of us went over. And like Sijat Tong, there was one French dude there, and that was it. There was no other foreigners. You know, there was very few. In Bangkok, we only because we were with Master Toddy and he knew a lot. We got into the Sartani Cool stuff like that. The few gyms in there, the Bangkok gyms were no, and a lot of them wouldn't even touch a farang. No heart. You've no heart. You're not Thai. You've no heart. And like you'd come over and they're going, "What are you doing this for?"
Here, yeah.
Like, we have to make a living. We're you know, I live out. You know, my family's starving. I fight for money. I send it home. You know, they'd fight in one stadium, they jump out, run to the other stadium, fight again, get another purse, you know, and get money from the gamblers and send it home. And I go, you want to do this? They couldn't understand it. So yeah, in those days it was crazy. Like you had a few big foreigners like Decker and stuff coming into, you know, in the 80s and stuff. But he was one of the few, you know, you couldn't. It took a long time for foreigners to actually get to the standard that they could go over there and stand with them at least. And that was when the, you know, Thai started to get stronger and stronger. And then we could go over and you had the likes of Stephen Meleady go over and stand with a lot of the top fighters and all like that, you know. But yeah, it took time. In those days, there was nobody that could touch them. They would throw you around. But you learned a hell of a lot. In one afternoon, you could learn what you'd learn a year over here, you know. It's amazing, yeah. So it's always good for foreigners to go over there, but you got to pick your gyms. Whereas in those days, the padmen would have usually been the old fighters from that gym, and they'd be there till they drop dead. Yeah. Whereas now, because it's gone so commercial, you know, gyms are actually pulling good padmen from other places and good fighters. A fighter would never leave his gym years ago. It was, you know, it was like, no, I'm Sijat Tong until I die. Whereas now they can be moved from different pay. Boom,
they're buying people. And,
it's like the, you know, the soccer leagues in England. Yeah, you can buy him, you know, or get a pad man, pay him more, he'll come to your gym. Whereas that was unheard of in the past, but now because it's become more commercial, and yeah, I think FA is one of the best ones in.
We try and there when I go over.
Yeah. It's the best one, It's the best one in Bangkok now for foreigners to go to, because it's still, they don't take foreigners unless they're good, you know.
A few good Australian lads there.
English lads. Yeah, you know, they won't look at you unless you know, at least, you know, are up there with a lot of pros. Like, luckily Yaz had the WBC European title, so at least he had some, you know, something to back him up. They say, he must be okay, you know. And then they've seen him in SKS. They've seen he's something, you know. Real deal.
Is there any one moment in your coaching career that stands out? That's like a very proud moment for you as a coach.
There's a whole lot of proud moments, because every fighter has given me pride. I suppose one thing was my own son jumping in to his first fight. He was
involved in the gym now as well.
Yeah, and he's you know, him and Tony Roach got Yaz ready for the WBC title. You know, they took the punishment from Yaz, because you need to be strong and staying with him. But he never did it. He was played soccer as a you know, high school boy level, but then he got into golf, scratch golf, or you know, did a bit of the Irish Amateur Opens and all. But then during COVID, couldn't play golf around it, so he came down, did a bit of training. He was in his 20s at this stage, and he was never interested. And I never pushed my sport on my kids. Like, my daughter is a elite triathlete. She was on the Irish squad and stuff, going for the Olympics. She's also a doctor, so don't ask me how she didn't have time for it. But Declan came in during COVID just for a bit of training, and next minute he started to like it. I think I'll have a fight. And then so the first fight, while extremely frightening when it's your own kid, you know, it was very proud that he had taken up my sport. But you know, I'd never push my sport, because it's a tough sport, and you know, people have to want it. You can't push them. 100%. Like, you've seen it probably yourself, that you see fathers pushing their kids into the sport and trying to live their
dream through their child.
And that's not right. You know, let your child pick the sport, you know. But he's had 3 amateurs. Unfortunately, last year he was having his 4th amateur, and he dislocated his shoulder with the first punch.
Really?
So he's been out near best part of the year now, and rehabilitating and stuff. So he's back in Deliverance.
He's still quite involved in the gym as well. Like.
Oh yeah, he's brilliant. Like, he's really, you know, he still is high level golf and stuff like that, and he's working in a high tech company. But he's he loves it, and he's a great help. You know, especially with the fighters, and it's another, you know, he's become part of the group now, and they're all comrades and everything in arms, you know, and it's great for him as well, like, you know, but he loves it. He absolutely loves it. So he's having his next fight now, his comeback fight on Deliverance as well. So I've 4 on Deliverance, so he's one of them at the moment. So, but Josh is the big fight there, so looking forward to that. Harry Barham, we're hoping, will be fighting as well. Hopefully getting his first A class. And I think AJ's fighting again on that. Joe Fagan, actually I have 5 on Deliverance now, as you come to think of it. 5. So busy. Yeah, great show. I always love the show, you know, it's always well run. Always get good fights on it. Always good fights. It'll be, you know, okay, he doesn't have Smiley and McGreevy on them at the moment, but he'll have a good top fight. He's got Josh is fighting, then the other one is, what's the other, Tig?
Shazard is fighting.
Shazard's fighting for the so that's right, he's fighting the other Houston. So that'll be a good fight. So 2 Irish fights on it, so 4 strong Irish fighters. So that should be good. 100%. You going to ref that?
I think so, I think between me and Lara.
For the big lads, just make sure to get your range right.
I don't know whether you think, you obviously have. Remember Joshua was fighting and I had to jump in. he hit the guy with a body shot. What shot was that, Eric?
This is a left, or was a left high kick out?
He was about to left high kick him when I jumped in the way.
Oh yeah, no, that was I seen that. That was the lad from Limerick. That was on Mick Pajowski's show. I think he got them with the body shot, and then he was going
in the way.
You were lucky. Oh, that would have been.
Man.
Yeah,
it landed on you, did it?
No, it didn't. But it's
I'm very
you take some danger. Yeah, you take some. You take your life into your own hands sometimes when you've got to jump in. But that's the job in there, and you just hopefully don't get injured. I've often been leg kicked when you got your legs in, you get a knee or something, and you got the whole crowd there, so you got to show, I'm strong, even though your leg isn't moving for a few rounds,
the refs have to get knocked out. Like.
Exactly. I tell you, it's dangerous. Yeah, I've gotten a few slaps while reffing, all right,
I was reffing a fight a while ago, and the guy was pretty much out on his feet, so I stood in and stopped the fight. And he started swinging punches at me. He wasn't there, like, what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, fuck.
You're weaving, yeah. That's why it's good to be a fighter if you're a reffing or, So definitely.
But, Eric, have you on to...
I think that's, we're going for a good hour and 20 minutes now, I think so.
Probably, I really enjoyed that chat with you.
Yeah, me too,
obviously talked before, but never, like, kind of... more in depth.
Yeah, and this is the first interview I've ever done. Yeah. Like I've been asked a few times, but I didn't like doing it. I just don't do them. Yeah. I just don't know. Leave me alone. I want to stay in the background. But this is doing great things. Like I love it. And
the good thing about this format is it's more of a conversation than it is like an interview. You're kind of just
and you're able to get out things that you mightn't hear previous, and it just brings up talking points. Not everything I say is going to be right, not everything anybody says, so it'll bring up talking points and make people talk. And you need that to try and hone in, to make Thai boxing, the shows, everything, the fighters the best that they can be and the fairest platform that we can have. And this is a great platform for bringing it on. It's great because this is the modern thing, the podcast, and
that's why we started.
I've enjoyed the last few, and I won't enjoy this one, but I'll try not to watch it.
Yeah, this is why we started. We want to open up conversation and open up discussion.
It's always good.
Discussion is great, man.
Yeah,
differences of opinion are great, and talking it out and figuring out why you think like that and why I think. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. And once the passion is there, that's you need people with passion in the sport, and I see loads of passion still out there, and it's great. Yeah. That's what you need, and that'll bring the sport on.
Yeah, like I said, Paul, I really enjoyed that, and you're an OG of Irish Muay Thai and someone as a younger coach looked up to when I started coaching, and like that you might not know, but I'd be watching and I'd be trying to learn things from everyone.
Now I got to be a bit more cagey,
particularly you. Like I watch everything, and I would have when I started coaching. Obviously, not very confident when you start, and I would have been looking to the likes of you and the likes of Paddy Clint and stuff at the time, and I would have taken a lot from you lads.
And that's it. And then you come into your own, and you get your group of fighters. You recognise them, and then you bring them on. And you've got a great camp there now as well. So it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, like I said, really enjoyed that, Paul.
Yeah,
and
me too.
I'm glad you said
Cheers.
Come on, and I look forward to watching your current stable of fighters grow, especially Yaz, who we really, really enjoy watching Yaz fight. I know Eric really likes him. He's done a bit of work with him before, and
look forward to see how he gets on over.
There's plenty to do, and hopefully I keep doing it.
One more thing.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself in the gym for the rest of your life? Like, what way is your body holding up? And,
I'm 61. The body's gone through. I had a bit of a heart problem a couple of years ago. I had to have a couple of operations, sorted that out. Did my ACL there last year with a fight.
I actually noticed the brace on it.
Yeah, supposed to rest for 6 weeks, and then I was in the gym next week because I was over at the show in Elite, and he was one of the fighters that wrecked me, but at least he won, so I didn't give out to him. If he'd lost, I would have killed him because he's fucked up my LCL. But no, and that's still giving me problems because I can't stop and rehabilitate it like most people might be able to do. And I can't do that. I just can't. I do love the gym. I don't think I can ever give it up. I think they'll carry me out in the box. Yeah, I thought I might retire at some stage. But once the body's able to hold pads,
you'll be there.
I'll still be there, you know, and I still feel good. I still try and keep...
You're still looking right.
Yeah, I try and keep
well.
trim, because, you know, if you let the body go, you're not able to take up the punishment. Like, you know, I'm still padding maybe once after 2 classes. Then I could be padding 20, 25 rounds of pads with the big guys and coming up for fights. So yeah, that keeps you fit as well, but you got to make sure your body's strong to be able to take that, you know. So yeah, I'll keep going until I'm standing, you know. That's me.
Good stuff. Good stuff, Paul.